computers than I would driving race cars.
Well, I mean, is the passion still there to drive those race cars there, though, or has it changed over the years? I mean, I know you keep talking about, the car owners with the nieces down there. I mean, passion still the same for Donny Schatz and racing in 2022, 23?
Absolutely. The passion's still there. I can tell you I got a couple problems. One is my threshold for bullshit is a lot less than it used to be. And my filter's broke, so...
But that's beneficial in today's world.
Well, not really. That's two things that could probably be the end of me, and two things that will cause me a big problem. But it is what it is. I was raised the way I was raised, and probably more so now than ever. I am who I am, and you can like it, you can not like it. I'm going to be good either way. I'm going to do what it is I want to do and do what I love to do, and I'm still doing that. And until that changes, until that fire goes away, well, I'm going to be doing what I'm doing.
We obviously see like Brad and Larson looking into doing series event style stuff. Is that something that you could see yourself doing? Events? Could you see Donny Schatz being an event promoter? Not with high limits, no, just doing an event. Cody Summers has the Dome, Edwards have the Chili. Have you ever thought about doing an event?
You know what I'm going to do, Chaz? You know what I really want to do? I'm going to tell you probably something I've not told many people before, but I had the very distinct luxury when I started racing with the World of Outlaws back in '97. Probably the one person that I looked up to the most, apart from Steve Kinzer, Sammy Swindell, Doug Wolfgang, was the guy who started the World of Outlaws. And in today's environment, there ain't very many people left that got the race for Ted, around Ted. But the person that he was the kind of guy that when you went to the races, you almost felt like you had to do good, or Ted would tell you to load your shit up and leave. You'd embarrass him. You want to be an outlaw? You better figure out how to be better. And that was a lot of how I grew up. My father was that way. He wasn't as stark like Ted was that way. But that's how Ted was, because Ted's passion was having the greatest drivers, and he knew there needed to be new blood and this and that, but he knew how to push you. Ted would push you, and he was awesome that way. But you know what? He also loved you, even if he didn't even know you. All he cared about is you were an awesome racer, and you were there. You went on the racetrack, you did the best you could, put on the best show you could. He was the biggest fan, but he was also the biggest critic. And that's something that has changed in this sport over the years. And I miss that. I remember back in the day, I was young, and I was dating a girl, and Ted came up to me one night at Lernerville. He says, "Shots, get on, we're going for a ride." And I was like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. Well, I was in trouble, all right, and I'll tell you why. Because he took me back in the trees down the bottom of the hill at Lernerville, and I thought he had a hole dug for me, and he was going to shove me in it and fill it full. He wanted to let me know that I had the longest streak of top 10 finishes on the tour for the last 10 races. And then I got this girlfriend, and guess what? It all went to hell. Ted was like a father figure. He pointed things out that most normal people wouldn't. And I actually feel sick to my stomach that the young kids of today's environment don't have someone like him to go thump them up alongside the head and say, "What the F was that? What are you doing?" Or pull your head out. People don't do that anymore. And honestly, that's how I was raised. That's how I feel like I got to this level, was seeing that, how he had Steve there and he had Sammy there, and he drove those guys. You guys see, everybody's seen the Steve and Sammy show, but Ted thrived right into it, and he pushed them. He kept pushing his drivers. There's no push anymore. There's almost nobody that even cares. So at some point, when I'm done racing, Lord knows that I can end on a good note someday and not in a box or whatever it might be. I'd love to be that guy. You know what I mean? Because I think that's what our sport is missing. Someone that's the biggest fan, someone that's a motivator, someone that's a pusher, to try to keep that product. And he was that guy that fought with Cappy at Knoxville, and he fought with them at Williams Grove, and he fought with Earl at Eldora. I mean, these guys had lockdown, throw-out, screaming matches. But you know why? Because he had passion for it, and they had passion for their facility. Nowadays, it's whatever happens, happens. And I honestly get tired of that mentality. I want quality of show. That's how I was brought up. He wanted to have the best show every night. Once in a blue moon, you had a rubber down racetrack, and he'd be like, well, we're not coming back here again. You know, and you can't really have that attitude, but yet you want to try to make it better. I don't know anybody realistically that when you go to these races anymore that is worried about quality of show. And they should be. Fans pay to get in. They pay dearly to get in. They pay dearly to watch online. They should do everything in their power to put on the best quality show they can every night from a series standpoint, because that's what's expected of us as race teams, and that's what we do as drivers. That's what the crews do. That's the passion they put in, but it's lacking at that level. So at some point, I'm going to be that Ted Johnson.
Now, what do you mean by that? Are you going to be series promoter or a series? Are you trying to go for World of Outlaws director, CEO? Are you trying to take Brian Carter's job? What do you mean?
I don't know. Maybe I'll have my own series someday. Who the hell knows? I'm just telling you, someday I'm going to be that guy, because that's the guy that I felt like he helped me in that sense. He looked up to me in that sense. He believed in me, and you don't see that from these series anymore. I mean, he made me feel like I was one of his own. He made me feel like I was family.
Well, it seems like you're saying you have a future passion to be the guy running the business.
Believe me, it's one of those things that I always I hope I can race and be healthy and not get hurt and be put in that position. But is it realistically something that'll ever happen? Probably not, because we have enough family stuff going on here with family business stuff, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But I've been around racing my whole life. Racing's what I've always done. It's did I need to do it? No, I do it because I love it. So it's no different if I don't race. I feel like I want to be a part of it, and I have something to contribute to it. I feel like I could probably contribute more to it when I'm done racing on that level than anything, because I've been around in multiple eras of things changing, and you know, you gotta get back to its roots, where it come from and how it got here. I mean, that's one of the most important parts, is how did we get here? I mean, it's I didn't even realize this till today, because we all get enamored in BS all the time. But I seen a thing today. The Outlaws have a race at Devil's Bowl in April this year, and that's 50 years at Devil's Bowl. Well, that means 50 years of the World of Outlaws. You realize that?
Yes.
That's 50 years of the World of Outlaws, too, because that's where it all started. So sometimes, as much as modern day is here and you have to adapt to the environment, you still have to go back to the core values that got you here. And I feel like, unfortunately, some of them core values have been forgotten. They've been overlooked. They've been neglected. And honestly, I'm guilty of it too. There's times that I race and I neglect things, and I overlook it, and I have to look myself in the mirror some days and say, hey, remember how you got here. It wasn't easy, but you never give up. The path you took, and sometimes there's tough love, and unfortunately that's just the nature of the game.
This is how we ride, this is how we do. Riding mud, sliding up.